So today's episode,
You have to say welcome to Lift.
I already said it once.
Welcome to Lift It Live. Today's episode, we're going to be discussing common tools of the trade, or common tools to install a lift kit, I think is what we're focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
Common tools to install a lift kit.
So let's pick a scenario truck. Or are they all going to be the same? Do you use the same tools for every single truck you do?
Majorly we do, but some of the trucks require welding. Some of the cross members have, whenever we cut down some of the bracketry, we have to actually weld in plates, and that helps stiffen it up. So that's about the, other than that, pretty much everything else across the board is the same. And we're going to kind of go over some of that and explain to you. Welder.
That's a welder.
This is a welder. This is a Walter.
Alrighty.
As you can tell, it kind of sits around too.
Let's start with what Banker just pulled in then. What are you going to use that with?
What kits you say? Any of the BDS?
Yeah.
Like,
BDS. Is it BDS the only one you have to weld with? Banker?
I wouldn't say that across the board.
BDS is the only one that gives you plates to weld in.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So whenever you cut your cross members on the rear side, you have your front support and your rear support cross member. That's where your arms actually bolt into from the factory. Whenever you put a lift kit on, your drop cross member will actually bolt into those, so you actually have to cut off part of it and modify it. So you have plates that are made and they'll weld in on the back side, and you'll use your welder to weld that. So if you don't know how to weld, or you don't have access to a welder,
You can torch weld it.
that's something you probably won't be able to do at home. So unless you have access to those kind of tools. But other than that, I think that's the only kits that we really run into that have those.
Honestly, I think, BDS gives you those plates as like a
Precautionary.
thing, just to beef it up a little bit, where you could run them without them probably, because some of the other kits don't even include those. You cut the same piece, and some kits don't include a weld-in brace, whereas some of the BDS kits do include it. So I mean, if you could probably leave it out. I mean, I didn't tell you that, but
Yeah, one of the things I think about like that is they might have ran into something at some point where someone bent something because it didn't have that kind of bracing, or it kind of keeps people from, if they cut out too much or whatever, gives the strength back that you need to actually bolt into that and make it something that's rigid. So, yeah. Shall we move
Next.
on? Yeah.
What's next, Junior? What do you want us to talk about next?
So let's pick a scenario truck. How about a 2016 Chevy Silverado 1500 with a BDS lift kit?
Okay, doing this in your garage on the floor? We doing it on the
Yeah, so if you're going to do this in your garage on the floor, what are you going to start with and what are you going to need?
You're gonna need really tall jack stands,
Alright.
maybe some friends.
You're going to need a needle nose pliers and a screwdriver.
And some WD-40.
And that's it.
Now, something like that, you're gonna have to get the truck off the ground quite a bit, just because you're gonna be crawling underneath it, and also the components that you're moving and being able to get in there and cut it off. I mean, you're gonna need that thing, quite a bit off the ground. So jack stands are a plus. If you got access to a lift, I definitely recommend it. That'd be the first thing. Sawzalls are helpful, or some kind of cutting apparatus, like plasma cutter or something like that. If you have to cut out the cross members for the rear, whatever you have access to as far as metal cutting tools, just be aware if you are using a plasma cutter or torch or something like that. Don't throw sparks up in the engine bay. Have a fire extinguisher handy, that kind of thing. That way you don't burn your truck to the ground. But you just put your look on.
But yeah, you definitely are required to have some kind of a device to cut through metal. Most people are going to have access to a Sawzall or reciprocating saw of some sort. Yeah, with a metal blade, preferably.
Not a blade made of metal, a blade for cutting metal.
Yeah. That's probably most people have one or know someone that has one of those at least. But
Borrow it from your grandpa.
and that's probably the most specialty tool you need probably to install a lift. I would say, because the rest of the lift kit really is just going to be basic hand tools.
No one knows what a sawzall is.
That's a Sawzall. Some of them come with a cord. If yours has a cord, you're okay. Doesn't mean you have to go get one of these.
Yeah, around here, we use that Milwaukee Sawzall 18-volt cordless. Bad ass. Oh, I can't say that. Bad. I mean, it's good, but it's, yeah.
It's a bad boy.
Anyways. But,
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So now
I mean, to do this properly, you're going to need an assortment of sockets.
Impact
ideally
style
some
sockets.
Impacts.
yeah, these are gonna be impact sockets, but I mean, you don't have to use an impact. You could do the whole thing by hand with just a ratchet or
And a breaker bar.
Yeah,
You'll need a
breaker
torque,
bar and
a
3
torque
frames.
wrench also, because you're gonna, whenever you're reading through your directions, you're gonna have specs for how much you need to torque things, because you don't want to over torque something and break it off. I mean, that is possible to do that, especially on the U-bolts. So,
Under torque it and it falls off.
yep.
yeah, just if you're too strong.
Yeah.
Happens to me a lot. Just way too strong for my own good. So I need a torque wrench.
Single ladies
And
and guys. One of the things you will need if you're doing this at home and you're not doing it on a lift itself is you'll need like a floor jack, something to support your diff whenever you go to drop it down, because they are heavy.
What do you use on a lift?
We use Transjack, which is behind us over here. Not everybody has access to those, but yeah, if you do have a lift or lift to lift the actual truck up off the ground with, these are super handy. Definitely recommend them. Be sure when you're doing it to strap it in so it doesn't fall. Brad's having too much fun.
Brad's never used it before, so he doesn't know how to tighten it.
Is there
The
a
knob.
valve?
The knob.
The knob.
There you go, buddy.
Feel knobby. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Whoa. Getting a glimpse into Brad's personal life. Anyways.
Jacking off.
All right. So, assortment of hand wrenches, torque wrench, sockets, depending on, I guess, what the kit is.
Screwdrivers.
A drill.
Little dikes and stuff like that to cut your.
Whoa.
Whoa.
That's not the politically correct term nowadays. We prefer
Okay.
diagonal cutters.
Diagonal cutters for cutting loose certain things. Try to really go through it.
What if it's an older torsion bar truck? Can you actually close in for those?
Oh,
Yes, that's a good idea. You want to go grab it? You want me to?
I'll go grab.
Okay, so on the torsion style, you actually have to take tension off of the bolt that you use for adjustment and then be able to pull it out. So you have, it's a clamp and it's a specialty clamp. You can buy them. This is like a mandatory thing because they're under so much load. You don't want to cheap out on this or try to like use a C clamp.
but I think one of the things, the local auto parts store, whether it be O'Reilly's or AutoZone or whatever, I think they rent those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here,
So I mean, that's
can
something
you
you
hand
could get.
So, this is what it is. So on the top of the cross member in the rear where you actually have your keys, this will bolt in, and then this will push up on the bottom side of the key itself. So, and then they have an adjustment screw that you have to take out, and then once you unload this, you can actually remove the key itself and slide your torsion bar out of the way.
Is it super easy to slide that torsion bar out of the way?
No, it's not. So if you have an older truck, you're probably going to run into them being seized in. It's a pretty common thing, and there's different ways to, if you're not reusing the keys, you can actually cut the keys and then pull them out because they'll spring apart, or you can use a big old mallet like so, something to go
BFA.
inside the end and just beat the heck out of it until you can get them out. And you're going to be beating them towards the front of the truck, and that's about it. You can use a torch to try to heat up the actual key itself, but it's so thick it's really hard to do. You're probably just better off trying to manhandle it out and just give it some time. So.
Usually at that part of the installation, that's when they decide that they'll just pay someone to do it.
Yeah. That's when you guys call us, and then
That's like where the people
then-
get to that point and they don't come out, and then they're just like, F it, I'm gonna pay someone.
I'm gonna lower my truck.
They still have to come
No.
out for that.
Okay.
That's just you.
Do you need to compress springs with certain trucks?
Yes, you do. For instance, like the Dodge 2500s, they have a new spring on some of them. You could compress them if you needed to. Certain kits, depending on what the years are, require you to actually do that because you won't be able to actually push the truck up with its weight to get the spring in itself. Because once the spring is actually in, it's always under load between the axle and the truck.
The trucks with struts in the front, so your newer 1500s,
Yep.
you're reusing the springs even though you have a lift strut, so you have a special tool to take apart the struts. So
Why don't we show them that?
we would show them that, but it's bolted to the wall, Brad. Not here.
But yeah, so you have strut compressor. That's a common tool for certain ones.
A lot of the times you can actually take the struts off and bring them to a shop and they'll swap them for
Yep.
you if you don't have a strut compressor. A lot of the spring compressors you can rent or buy are sketchy. Not really designed for a truck spring.
Yeah, they're under so much load. You don't ever want to like try to take them apart, not like that, or they will literally take off. So don't do that.
Then you'll need a new garage door.
And teeth,
Yes.
teeth.
Teeth.
Unless you're, well, we're not gonna talk about that.
I did them on Kevin's car.
So yeah. Let's go over some other things that we'll need.
A drill.
You
Most
need-
times
yeah.
you gotta
Yeah,
you have to drill.
you gotta
Yeah.
drill through. So you're on, high-powered drill.
You're gonna need
Yep.
a drill of some sort, or
And
Some
drill
good
bits.
drill
you
bits.
could use the old Amish hand drill if you want, I guess. But power drill's nice to have. Most people have a power drill and
You
some
have one
good drill
somewhere in your
bits
house.
because
Yeah.
Have you guys ever installed a lift kit without using a lift?
Yes.
Yes.
How
Yes.
easy was
It's
it?
not. So, what might take us a day or two to get a lift on would probably take you a week. Yeah, it's not fun. I mean, it's not saying you can't do it, but for one, it's pretty sketchy whenever you got a big heavy truck on like 8 jack stands floating around the air, you know, because you're putting a lot of pressure on the truck itself, pushing up on it a lot of times. So jack stands aren't necessarily the most stable things in the world. So it takes a lot of time, and you got to be careful because you just don't have all the room to move around, especially if you're cutting stuff and you got a hot piece of metal falling on you, or whatever.
And it goes in your eardrum,
Yep.
and then
Or your pants.
I
yeah.
think you guys forgot one thing with your equipment was.
Oh yeah. So
We don't
let's
wear
go
them.
over
I don't wear
safety.
those.
So you guys.
Hold on. Can I interrupt you?
Nope.
Just real quick.
Yeah.
This week's word is meatball. Okay, continue.
All right.
Oh,
So.
who call him a meatball?
Whenever you're doing this, you're cutting anything or using a torch, we always say
Safety
use the
glasses.
proper safety equipment. I'm an advocate for that. Yeah, you probably can't see it in your cameras, but like I had
Jayke
cut off
is-
wheel blow apart and go through my face, and I had safety glasses on. That's what saved my eye, but I should have had a shield on because it took out the face. But
And that's why he's working here now, because after that he couldn't make any money anymore modeling. So he ended up here.
doing the modeling clear, made me add like 40 pounds. It's rough. But yeah, so like gloves, if you're doing anything hot, use like welding gloves, something like that. Proper equipment, use safety glasses, face shield, long sleeve shirts, steel toe boots. When we walk around flip flops trying to do lift on your truck. So
Everyone behind the camera is
Yeah.
not wearing shoes.
False.
if you have long hair, keep it out of the way.
Jared, do you need a tie?
If you have a man bun, you shouldn't be.
You probably
You
have
probably
a
don't.
gun,
You
sure.
probably don't have a truck. So
You're good.
yeah.
Alrighty. Anything else you guys can think of for tools?
You know what?
Well, there's always-
The best idea to do is to bring it to us.
What if they don't live around here?
We're within driving distance.
What if they're in Europe?
Well, let's think about like some of the specialty tools. So we'll get back on track of this. So, Torx bits for some of the the brake assemblies that actually hold on your disc brakes.
Caliper?
Yeah, the caliper and stuff like that. You'll have to have Torx bits. Sometimes they don't come out, and we have to drill them, depending on how old the truck is.
Oh, those.
Yeah. So there's those.
GM uses Allen head cap head screws for calipers, which would be so you need Allen wrenches and or hex head bits, same thing, whatever. Those are nice to have. That's something you don't always run into, but most people who have basic hand tools will have an Allen wrench set of some sort. So.
Yeah, you'll also need, on certain kits, we have to change out brake lines, so you'll need a flaring wrenches, so you don't round off the actual...
Or you could be banker and not use them.
Yeah. But another thing we use is mechanics wire. If you're not familiar with the term, it's just a little thick gauge wire that we use it to hold the calipers out of the way. That way they're not dangling from the brake lines, because a lot of the times they're taken off and partially they'll be out, not at their home on the actual assemblies for a good while. So that stuff.
I mean, you don't have. I mean, a lot of people use. You don't have to use mechanics wire.
That's just an example.
Zip ties.
A lot of people use bungee cords, zip ties, whatever it may be, just to hold the caliper up out of the way so it's not pulling on the brake hose or whatnot. But someone can find something around the house. It's not really a specialty item per se, but that's something to think about.
Yeah, something that we use.
I think we should talk about novelty tools, I guess you would say, or stuff that makes your life easier would be stuff that we use all the time, like an electric impact. We've kind of I converted everyone to electric tools. Banker thought air tools were cool, but they're not cool when you have a dinky little compressor. So
that's another thing, compressor. A lot of times you got to use a compressor.
There you go.
Okay, if you don't have the electric impact,
hand tools.
You don't, and you have options to have air tools. You will need an air compressor.
You don't need an air compressor.
I'll kill him.
Let's jump to some questions. Dylan's wondering about his 2011 Silverado 1500 with 20x10s. Your opinions on the 4-inch Fabtech budget system?
It's a good kit.
I think that's a good kit for the money. It's a really simple kit because that's the same as like the newer trucks. It's just the upper control arms and shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good kit for the money because obviously they keep the cost down by not using a knuckle system. So in order to correct for ball joint angles, they use that upper control arm. But they do as well, which is nice, drop the differential down for the CV angle part. And all in all, I mean, we've installed a ton of those kits. We did a lot on the new dealership trucks as well, and they rode great, and we never had a problem with them really. So I mean, it's a good kit for the money.
Corey's wondering, he's got a 2011 Ford F-150 4x4.
You do?
You have a Mustang, bro.
Yeah. What would be the best lift kit for it? He has 33-inch Pro Comp tires and rims.
Best kit for it? I mean, I personally like the BDS kits, but I'm trying to think how big you have to go. You have to go 4 plus.
11.
Oh.
So
To fit 33?
33.
Oh.
4-inch. 3 or 4 inch.
Well, you didn't say the size wheels. No. 33s on like
stocks?
8 wides or whatever. You could do that probably on a leveling kit. Yeah.
If you're using, like most of the people have some kind of offset on a 33, you're probably going to have to go fairly, like a 3 or 4, probably 3.5, 4, something like that, depending on what's out there. But yeah, I mean, a BDS kits, they're pretty nice.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We've said it before at least. People always ask me, what's the best kit? Like, that's what he's asking. I mean,
yeah, there's so many things that play into this, like
BDS.
budget.
This perfectly segues into Mike Trapp's question on what's the best 6-inch lift for his 07 H2. So, continue what you're saying.
H2?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
Brad, which companies make lifts for an H2?
BDS does.
Yeah, but I don't think it's a 6-inch.
Oh, I know Bulletproof makes H2 lifts. Who else makes them?
On a question like that, we'd probably have to do our homework just because we haven't seen much of it here. We have our H2, but...
Which is leveled on 35s and 14 wides?
Yeah.
And it's fine. There's such...
Yeah,
There's
you
so
can fit
much
a lot of tire
yeah.
on those, so
There's a room for days,
yeah,
so...
you can fit 35s on a level pretty much. But
2017 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited. What lift would you recommend for daily driving? BDS, Zone, Other? He's looking for something easy to install for someone mechanically inclined. 4-inch.
Well, if you're when he said daily driver, that means to me that would mean he wants to have good road manners.
Right, and reliable.
Yeah, so I mean, because a lot of the Jayke Jeep lift kits get real flexy.
Death wobble. Yeah.
They get real loose or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It makes the Jeeps not very road friendly.
Yeah, the kits are always kind of more designed for like the toy aspect as well.
Yeah.
I always
Yeah.
get that feel from it because they have really soft springs.
That's a good way to put it.
They have a lot of them have the disc, or you can do the disconnect on the sway bars, that kind of stuff, because most Jeep owners are like playing them. So
Or they think they do.
yeah,
They
so
pretend to.
there's I mean,
Shout out to Mitch.
it's a hard question, but if you're starting to get up there in the air like that, it's going to be
Would you guys-
hard to track a Jeep.
Weren't you really impressed with that BDS you did in that?
So you think BDS or Zone, the two he's looking at, would be decent options?
Talk
then?
about that.
Yeah, we did the BDS.
With the disconnects.
On this brand new. That was
On the Rubicon.
Oh, okay.
the 2017,
Yeah,
right?
not the 2000. That
Okay.
thing was terrible.
the 2017.
Yeah, the 17 Rubicon. And the guy loved it. Said it rode better than it did stock.
What size is it?
That was it was only like a 3.5 inch. 35s and 12 wides. I mean,
Yeah, I thought I remembered when you drove it, you were like, that thing runs great on the highway.
yeah,
Which
you
is
know,
not
dual
normal
steering,
for
stabilizer.
a lifted Jeep.
Right.
Michael's wondering, is it crazy to lift a two-wheel drive truck?
No,
We've done
No.
this before.
it happens all the time. I mean, think of pre-runner.
I mean,
Bush is wondering, can he still use his Cognito UCAs with his own 5-inch lift on his 2013 Silverado four-wheel drive?
yeah.
Yes. They keep the same ball joint, taper with the knuckle, so you're absolutely fine.
Mayo is wondering, Mayo is wondering, I have a
Mayo?
08 Sierra with a 7.5-inch rough country, but the front is lower than the back. What can he do to level the front?
You probably did an add leaf in the back.
Did you do an add leaf in the back?
There's
Take
not
that
much
add
you can
leaf
do
out
to
of there.
bring the front up. You're gonna want to bring the rear down.
Kyle's got an 06 Chevy with 220,000 on it, and it's been in New York its whole life. The
Oh,
best
boy.
way to get the keys out of it.
Don't do it.
Cut them
Cut
off.
'em. Yeah. So, like we were touched on this a little bit earlier. The keys themselves, normally you can fish your way up in there to get at it with. There's different ways to do it. I don't know. You can cut it with either a blade style, like saws off. You can fish it in there. Usually
luck.
can't.
Cut
But
off wheel usually.
yeah, cut off wheel or a torch is usually the best way to do it. That's because when
Find a friend, make a friend who has a torch, an oxy-acetylene torch, and ask them to borrow it.
Yeah. So yeah, when you cut them, just be aware they're gonna spring unloaded. But
Just give away a t-shirt.
Or they land on you and they melt you.
Oh, we're gonna give away a T-shirt now.
Lifted tee.
Oh, custom offsets. I keep looking at you. The camera's over there. Custom
That's a
offsets
camera?
lifted T-shirt. Yeah, that's Facebook over there.
I've been looking at Junior.
Custom offsets lifted T-shirt to the first person who can tell us who tonight's or what tonight's keyword is. Go.
30-second delay.
do, do, do,
Don't do that while you're copyright infringement.
You can't say I matched that tone up like perfectly. There's no way you could.
Tyler Buckner said meatball.
yeah.
Hey.
No.
So what does Tyler Buckner need to do?
Somebody tell him.
You gotta come here and pick up your shirt.
Tyler, you're going to send an email with your name, address, and what you won to ship with a
At-
P at
Ship.
customoffsets.com.
Ship as in pirate ship.
Without the pirates.
Minus the pirate part.
Okay, let's continue. Someone
Alright.
said beer and someone said TIS. Just gonna let you guys know.
Huh.
Both are good for
People aren't paying attention.
Maybe they joined after you said that.
Ronald is wondering, do you guys do the factory torque spec on every lift installed?
Factory torque spec, as in like.
Like the vehicle factory torque spec?
Well, I'll tell you this. Sometimes.
Or the torque spec that comes with the lift kit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
there's-
explain that.
Okay, so
Somebody else, I need him.
factory torque spec, there's like for your hub assemblies, some are torqued to 120, some are 140. That's all stuff that if it's a factory component, we look up, figure out what they need from the factory, and that's what we use. In any of the lift kits, any component that we put on has to have some kind of torque spec, and we will torque it to that spec on everything, and that's across the board.
Even though the video guys don't like to show it because it's boring in the videos.
Yeah,
it's torque.
It's torque.
YouTube.
And then mark.
Yeah, and then mark. We use paint pens and mark every component. That way you can see if it moves. So after we build a truck, it's lined, we go do our test drives, we go run it around for a little bit, and then we bring it back in. Another tech will check it, not the one that originally installed it, and he'll go through, nut and bolt everything, make sure everything's tight, and then also look at all these paint marks to make sure that everything is in the same spot it was whenever we first installed it. So,
Michael's wondering, is Rough Country a good product?
yeah, for the price point.
Yeah.
Tim was wondering, 4 or 6-inch lift for a 2011 F-150, and what brand?
4 or 6 inch? Go 6 inch. Go big or go home, bro.
And what brand?
BDS. Go
BDS.
big or go home, bro.
Daniel's wondering, yo, I bought a 2016 Tacoma new with wheels, tires, and 6-inch Procom lift. What's your opinions on Procom?
Are we still trying to get Pro Comps?
Yeah.
Should we butter them up a little bit?
Yeah.
We have Procom.
Yeah,
Pro Comps on the site, so I guess we like them.
yeah, they're good. They're just like we don't see them as common here. I guess it's, their price point's a little higher.
And it's 2017.
Yeah,
I feel like Procom prices are kind of, you pay for the name on a lot of it more. I think it's not a bad, I don't think it's not a bad product, but
No.
they kind of inflate their prices a little just because of the brand per se. I don't know, like,
Procom's been around forever. They're still around. There's got to be a reason to it. It's the best way to look at it. It's like a BFG. If you get a Procom lift, you're putting BFGs on.
yeah, probably.
So I got maybe a little tricky one, I don't know. This guy, Jared, has a 96 F-150. He's wondering if a 6-inch lift from that would work under a 96 F-350.
No.
No.
He says he understands it might be a soft ride up front, but I want to
no, won't even bolt in.
One,
No.
Two-wheel
one
drive.
solid axle.
No.
Doesn't
yeah.
matter?
No.
All the components are different.
Still different.
Okay.
What if he F-150 swaps his F-350? Then it will work.
What, frame swaps
He's
it?
just going to put the body of his F-350.
On his F-150?
Don't listen to pastors.
So everybody on YouTube, if you've been hanging out and you've made it this far, and you've actually been paying attention, the first person to comment the word of the day, once this goes up on YouTube, will also win a free Custom Offsets Lifted t-shirt of their choice. So you're going to want to comment, and someone on here will get back to you with what you need to do.
The deets.
Peace out, dudes.
Hit you up with the
See
deets.
ya next time.
As Mario would say, adios.
You mean bye?
Nope.
He doesn't speak Spanish.
He